Using this stem, you're going to experience for yourself now just how quickly and easily you can learn Spanish, even if this is your very first Spanish lesson. And I've also included a pyramid section, which makes a really big difference to your fluency. And as not all of you are complete beginners, I've included a section for non-beginners. And if this applies to you, you can skip forward to the time code that's coming up on the screen now, or stick with us for some extra practice. Welcome to ProSpanish. So we've got our STEM vocabulary on the screen now. But the point about this is you're going to learn so much more. And as I said earlier, even if this is your very first Spanish lesson. Okay, so we're going to start off with seguro. Seguro looks a bit like secure. Seguro is safe. Seguro. And if we want to say it's safe, we just say es seguro. Es seguro. It's safe. So the es is it's. Es seguro, it's safe. What do you think it means if I say no es seguro? No es seguro. Yeah, it's not safe. We just put the no there to change it to a negative. No es seguro. It's not safe. How about if I ask this question? ¿Es seguro? ¿Es seguro? Yeah. Is it safe? And you can see that the question and the statement, the answer, are exactly the same. So, ¿es seguro? It's safe. ¿Es seguro? Is it safe? It's the same, we just changed the tone of our voice. So again, how do you say is it safe? ¿Es seguro? What do you think it means if I say Madrid es seguro? Madrid es seguro. Yeah, Madrid is safe. And how would you ask the question? Is Madrid safe? And remember, the question and the statement are the same. Yeah, it would be Madrid es seguro. Madrid es seguro. And how would you say Madrid isn't safe? What would that be? Madrid isn't safe. Madrid no es seguro. No es seguro. So it's not safe. Although, of course, I don't think that's actually true. I think Madrid es seguro. Madrid is safe. Next is a word you might have already heard. Bonito. And it's a nice word because bonito is nice. A nice word. Bonito. Bonito. So you might know that an area is safe, but you also want to know, is it nice? How would you ask? Is it nice? What would that be? ¿Es bonito? ¿Es bonito? Is it nice? And how would you say the statement, Toledo is nice? What would that be? Toledo es bonito. Toledo es bonito. And how about you're talking about another area and you say, it's not nice. What would that be? No es bonito. No es bonito. It's not nice. Okay, so we've started off with seguro, safe. And we've also learned es, it's, or is it, in a question. And we've got bonito, nice. Have a look at por aquí. Por aquí is around here. Por aquí, very useful. Aquí is here. Por aquí, around here. How would you ask the question? Is it safe around here? What would that be? Is it safe around here? And remember, it's the same as saying it's safe around here. So what would it be? ¿Es seguro por aquí? ¿Es seguro por aquí? And how would you say, it's nice around here? Es bonito por aquí. Es bonito por aquí. We might add in very. Es muy bonito por aquí. It's very nice around here. And we could split up por aquí, around here, and just have aquí here. How would you say it's not safe here? What would that be? No es seguro aquí. No es seguro aquí. And we'll swap the order around a little bit. How would you say, around here it's safe? What would that be? Por aquí es seguro. Por aquí es seguro. And we'll just take a quick pause here while I mention my very popular Levels 1 to 6 course. This takes the complete beginner or near beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in a series of very easy to follow steps. Now, all the lessons on this YouTube channel are supplementary, whereas the core Levels 1 to 6 is very much a step-by-step program delivered by me, the same teacher as all the other videos on this channel. And while the style is very similar to what you'll be used to from these videos on the channel, the key difference is that every lesson carefully builds on the previous lessons so that you can really feel that progress of going from little or no Spanish up to a level where you can confidently hold a conversation in Spanish. And that course download is available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, next have a look at I. So there is or there are. And notice the H isn't pronounced in Spanish. I. And just as we saw with es, we can change this to a question. So I is there is or there are, and is there or are there is the same, it's I. What do you think it means if I say hay un banco? Hay un banco. Yeah, there is a bank. Another place we could have is un supermercado. Un supermercado. What do you think that is? Un supermercado. Yeah, it's a supermarket. And how about if we just want it to be a market, not a supermarket? What do you think the word is for a market? Yeah, un mercado. Un mercado. How would you ask the question? Is there a bank around here? ¿Hay un banco por aquí? ¿Hay un banco por aquí? How about, is there a supermarket around here? What would that be? ¿Hay un supermercado por aquí? ¿Hay un supermercado por aquí? And maybe you're just pointing out something and you could say, there is a market here. There's a market here. What would that be? Hay un mercado aquí. Hay un mercado aquí. And it might be maybe the market's there on Sundays. Hay un mercado aquí los domingos. Hay un mercado aquí los domingos. There's a market here on Sundays. How do you think you'd make a negative? How would you say there isn't or there aren't? Yeah? No hay. No hay. There isn't or there aren't. How would you say there isn't a bank around here? No hay un banco por aquí. No hay un banco por aquí. Well, you might use the plural. There aren't any banks around here. No hay bancos por aquí. Our next stem word is dejar. Dejar, to leave. What do you think it means if I say dejar mi teléfono? Dejar mi teléfono. To leave my phone. To leave my phone. Dejar mi teléfono. And something else you might want to leave somewhere is la maleta. La maleta. La maleta is the suitcase or the case. La maleta. And maybe to help you remember this, if you can imagine a mallet, because it's a bit like maleta, a mallet, a big hammer banging a case. So a mallet banging down on a case, that kind of association often helps us remember. So la maleta, like the mallet, suitcase. And you heard me say before, my phone, my telephone. How would you say my suitcase? Think of it like my mallet. How would you say my suitcase? Yeah, mi maleta, my case. Let's go back a step. How did we say, is it safe? Can you remember that? Is it safe? Es seguro? Es seguro? Is it safe? So how would you say, is it safe to leave my case here? So it's quite a long one, but just split it up and you'll be able to do it. Is it safe to leave my case here? Es seguro dejar mi maleta aquí? Es seguro dejar mi maleta aquí? And what do you think it means if I ask, ¿es posible dejar mi maleta aquí? ¿Es posible dejar mi maleta aquí? So just change one word, safe for posible. So yeah, is it possible to leave my case here? ¿Es posible dejar mi maleta aquí? How would you say it's not possible? No es posible. No es posible. So it might be no es posible dejar la maleta aquí. It's not possible to leave the case here. Now you may know that there are various words for car in Spanish. In Spain, it's coche, coche, and depending on where you are in Latin America, carro or auto. So various possibilities. We'll stick with coche for the moment as a general word. How would you say my car? Mi coche, mi coche. How would you ask the question, is it possible to leave my car here? How would you say that? ¿Es posible dejar mi coche aquí? ¿Es posible dejar mi coche aquí? And we could say, is it safe to leave my car here? What would that be? ¿Es seguro dejar mi coche aquí? ¿Es seguro dejar mi coche aquí? And how would you say it's not safe to... Actually, let's change it to it's not possible. It's not possible to leave my car here. What would that be? No es posible dejar mi coche aquí. No es posible dejar mi coche aquí. Because maybe it's not safe. No es seguro. It's not safe. Okay, the next verb is cargar, to charge. Fairly easy to remember because it looks a little bit like to charge. Cargar, cargar. How would you say to charge my phone? What would that be? Cargar mi teléfono. Cargar mi teléfono. And how would you ask? Is it possible to charge my phone? ¿Es posible cargar mi teléfono? ¿Es posible cargar mi teléfono? Okay, looking at the next two, we'll do them together. And again, just to say that I'm going through this quicker than I normally would in my courses, but that's because I want you to get a real sense how much it's possible to learn. So these next two together, I want, and I can. Quiero, puedo. Quiero, puedo. I want, I can. So I want is quiero. How would you say I don't want? No quiero. No quiero. How would you say I can't? No puedo. No puedo. I can't. How would you say I want to leave my suitcase here or my case here? What would that be? Quiero dejar mi maleta aquí. Quiero dejar mi maleta aquí. Or maybe you want to ask, can I leave my case here? Well, you know I can is puedo. And of course the question, can I, will be the same. Puedo as well. So how would you ask, can I leave my case here? What would that be? So remember, it will be exactly the same as I can leave my case here. ¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí? ¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí? How would you ask, can I charge my phone? What would that be? ¿Puedo cargar mi teléfono? ¿Puedo cargar mi teléfono? And the great thing about the way I teach is that we can keep on layering up. So we can just keep on expanding and expanding. It's like a balloon inflating, giving you more and more conversational capacity. So we could add donde. Donde is where. Donde. So we could say donde puedo, whatever. Where can I? Donde puedo. So we could say, where can I leave my case? Donde puedo dejar mi maleta? ¿Dónde puedo dejar mi maleta? Where can I leave my case? Or it could be, where can I charge my phone? ¿Dónde puedo cargar mi teléfono? And of course, we could add more verbs. We could have practicar, to practice. Where can I practice? ¿Dónde puedo practicar? Or I want to practice. Quiero practicar, etc. Just to give you a few examples. So you can see with this approach just how quickly and easily you can learn Spanish. And so before we go on to the fluency pyramid section of this video, another reminder that my levels 1 to 6 ProSpanish course is available exclusively from prospanish.co.uk. So these pyramids are very popular with users, and there are 300 of them included in the all-in-one ProSpanish package. So let's work through this. We start at the base, and you don't need to understand everything. Just see if you can pick out any words to start with.
¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí?
¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí?
¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí?
Okay, so you might have picked out the odd thing, or you might have managed to get most of it. Now we'll work down the pyramid. So let's have a listen at the top here.
Puedo.
Puedo. Puedo.
So we can play it as many times as we want, and we'll show puedo, and that meant can I? Puedo. Next.
Puedo dejar.
Puedo dejar. Puedo dejar.
Puedo dejar, and that means can I leave? Puedo dejar. Next.
Puedo dejar mi maleta. Puedo dejar mi maleta. Puedo dejar mi maleta.
Let's have a look. That is puedo dejar mi maleta. Can I leave my suitcase? Next one, or the final one, putting it all together.
¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí? ¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí? ¿Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí?
Puedo dejar mi maleta aquí. Can I leave my suitcase here? And you can do the speaking side as well. So We could start right at the top and work our way down, or you can start in the middle. So let's start here on the second one. So we click the microphone. Puedo dejar. And okay, that's perfect. Next one down. Puedo dejar mi maleta. Yeah. And then finally, puedo dejar mi maleta aquí. Yeah, perfect. Well done. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, this is a bigger pyramid. Again, let's start at the bottom and see if you can pick anything out.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro. No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro. No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro.
Okay, so that's just the base, just to see what you can pick out. And then let's work our way down.
No quiero. No quiero.
No quiero.
So, no quiero, I don't want. Next layer.
No quiero dejar. No quiero dejar.
No quiero dejar.
No quiero dejar. I don't want to leave. No quiero dejar. Next.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono. I don't want to leave my phone. Next.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí.
So, no quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. I don't want to leave my phone here. Next.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es.
Okay, so what have we added on there? No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es. I don't want to leave my phone here. It's.
No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro. No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro. No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro.
So, no quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro. Meaning, I don't want to leave my phone here. It's not safe. And you could go ahead and test yourself with the base right away. No quiero dejar mi teléfono aquí. No es seguro. And there we go. And so on to the part of the video for our non-beginners, and welcome back to those of you who have skipped forward. We're going to build on some of the learning from the first part of the video. So earlier we saw seguro is safe. Es seguro, it's safe. But seguro can also mean sure. Sure. And when we want it to mean sure, we have to use the other to be verb. So we have to use estar. So ser seguro. So remember, es comes from ser. So ser seguro is to be safe. Estar seguro is to be sure. So let's say we're talking about you. You are. So that's estás. How would you ask the question, are you sure? What would that be? ¿Estás seguro? ¿Estás seguro? And if you're talking to a girl or woman, then the seguro has to change to segura. So how would you ask a girl if she is sure? ¿Estás segura? ¿Estás segura? And you probably know, if you're doing this part of the video, that I am from estar is estoy. I am. How would you say, I'm not sure? No estoy seguro. No estoy seguro. And how would you say, I want to be sure. I want to be sure. What would that be? So from the previous section, we saw that I want is quiero. Quiero, I want. And we just saw that to be is estar. So I want to be sure is quiero estar seguro. Quiero estar seguro. And if a girl or a woman is saying that, they would say quiero estar segura. Quiero estar segura. And the next word that we have, listo, has also got two meanings depending on whether you're using ser or estar. So listo is clever or ready. And as ser is used to describe characteristics, and being clever is a characteristic, so we would use ser listo, to be clever. How would you say she's clever? Es lista. Es lista. And so estar is used with ready. Estar listo, to be ready. How would you ask someone, are you ready? What would that be? ¿Estás listo? ¿Estás listo? How about, I'm not ready? No estoy listo. No estoy listo. Or no estoy lista. And how would you say, she's ready, I'm sure? Está lista. Estoy seguro. Está lista. Estoy seguro. And just briefly, another one that acts like this is aburrido. Aburrido can mean bored or boring. So the characteristic is boring. If someone or something is boring, that's the characteristic. So ser aburrido is to be boring. So to be bored is estar aburrido or estar aburrida. We learned dejar, to leave, and we'll come to a few other meanings of dejar in a minute. But have a look at this form. Déjalo, déjalo, meaning leave it. So the it is just stuck onto the end. So deja is the command, the imperative form, leave, whatever it might be. So maybe deja el coche aquí. Deja el coche aquí. Leave the car here. How would you say, leave the suitcase here? What would that be? Deja la maleta aquí. Deja la maleta aquí. And leave it is déjalo. So the it, the lo, just sticks déjalo, leave it. And obviously this itself could have multiple meanings depending on the context. It could be déjalo, as in just leave it, like I don't want to talk about it, déjalo. Or it could be leave it in the car. Well, how would you say leave it in the car? Déjalo en el coche. Déjalo en el coche. And you may or may not know that when it, the lo, is referring to something feminine, it would have to change to déjala, déjala. So let's say we're referring to la maleta, the case. How would you say, leave it here? What would that be? Déjala aquí. Déjala aquí. And incidentally, so we know maleta is case, suitcase from the first part of the video. And in a car, you have a place to keep the case. Maletero, maletero. So obviously it's not just for cases, but the boot or the trunk of the car takes its name from maleta. So maletero is the boot or the trunk. How would you say leave it in the boot? Déjalo en el maletero. Déjalo en el maletero. Of course, that's assuming that the thing that's being left is a masculine word. Now, you may know that me in Spanish is me. So me is me. How would you say leave me? So instead of leave it, leave me, what would that be? Déjame, déjame, leave me, déjame. Maybe you're in a taxi and you want to say, leave me around here, please. Leave me like somewhere around here. What would that be? Déjame por aquí, por favor. Déjame por aquí, por favor. Or it could be more precise, leave me here. Déjame aquí. And if you want to say leave me alone in Spanish, we say leave me in peace. And in peace is en paz. En paz, or in Latin America, en paz. So in Spain, the Z is always pronounced like a TH, and in Latin America, always like a S. So en paz or en paz. So leave me alone, leave me in peace. How would you say, please, leave me alone? What would that be? Por favor, déjame en paz. Por favor, déjame en paz. So please, leave me alone. How would you say, leave me alone, I'm not ready? Déjame en paz, no estoy listo o lista. Déjame en paz, no estoy listo. So that's the Latin American version. And if we want to include I want or I can, then we'll have to go back to using the full verb, dejar, to leave. How would you say, can you leave me alone? What would that be? And of course, you'll need to change puedo to puedes, you can or can you. So can you leave me in peace? What would that be? ¿Puedes dejarme en paz? ¿Puedes dejarme en paz? Can you leave me alone? And how would you say, you can't leave me? What would that be? No puedes dejarme. No puedes dejarme. What about this one? You can't leave me here. It's not safe. No puedes dejarme aquí. No es seguro. No puedes dejarme aquí. No es seguro.